Hi, everybody. Welcome to The New Normal. I'm your host, Lisa Deos, aka Litecoin Lisa. And here at The New Normal, we are always fighting to bring, we're fighting for freedom, but we're bringing education and looking for tools and resources that we can bring to you, the community, as I learn myself. How we can create a new normal that is one where we have choices and can be empowered to create the life and have liberties and decisions to have the pursuit of happiness and not have people lording over us and making those decisions for us. So over the years, I was had the privilege of traveling with Ben Simchi. You guys know him as Bitcoin Ben, and he is a great historian. He's the way that he studies American history is that he reads the actual personal letters that figures in history have written. So he might read a letter from Abraham Lincoln that he wrote to his wife, telling what's going on behind the scenes, what's really happening. So he's not writing how history was told or taught to us, but what the people that are creating the history are telling people in their lives. So it's a really different perspective, a lot of a different way to think about it. And he's also very freedom mindset, has a really strong freedom mindset. And I really respect that. So I have been reading a book called Fruit from a Poisonous Tree, which is by Melvin Stamper, that was suggested to me from a friend. And I've got a couple of friends that are going to come on in the next few weeks to kind of dig into this discussion a little bit more. And I hope you guys find it interesting. And then everyone can choose which parts of their freedom that they want to take responsibility for and what you want to do with it. So we'll have, we should have Ben joining us any minute now. He's doing his makeup. He'll be right here.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and secret proceedings. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed.
Are you buying and selling cryptos on the same laptop that you're using to browse the internet, read your email, and visit social media sites? If so, you're exposing your cryptos to theft. Whenever you're online, you're at risk of getting hacked and having your identity stolen. How would you feel if someone stole all of your cryptos? What would that do to your finances? Guard your cryptos with a safe and secure laptop from Calyx Solutions. Each laptop is set up just for you and your cryptos, and then we walk you through exactly how it works. Don't risk the security of your cryptos. Order a crypto laptop from Calyx Solutions now to secure your crypto future. Learn more at calyxsolutions.io.
What happens when 90% of the media is controlled or owned by 6 corporations? What happens when those same corporations are operated and controlled by a political ideology? What happens when the news is no longer free from bias? What happens when the news is no longer reliable and independent? What happens when the news is no longer trustworthy? Fact becomes fiction? Fiction becomes fact? When does news become propaganda?
people. The America is you. It is the Grand fucking Canyon, the Rocky Mountains, the deserts of the Southwest, the Pacific fucking Ocean, the Atlantic fucking Ocean. It is the grandest continent. And what the fuck have you people done? You have turned yourself into sheep, every goddamn one of you.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I tried to do a little intermission to give Ben some time to join us. He's running a little behind, but I'm going to go ahead and read a little bit from Fruit from a Poisonous Tree, just to touch on some points. This is a really great book, just to kind of open your mind, have another point of reference or thought about kind of where we are right now, what went wrong, and when it might have gone wrong. It's really interesting to me. I had no idea about a lot of this because I went to public school, or as my friend Satoshi Sean calls it, government school. So at the founding of this republic, and we are in a republic, this is a republic, as much as they say, save the democracy. When you hear that, them screaming that, most likely they are trying to steal the republic from you. So be very careful. Words matter. Our good friend, Uncle Cliff, who's a linguist, taught us that. So the founding of this republic, there were only 4 federal crimes. They were treason, counterfeiting, piracy, and crimes against the law of nations. Right now, there are 3,000 federal crimes, 300,000 federal administrative regulations, many of which are punishable as crimes, and about 85,000 local governments with 513,000 elected officials, 1 in every 500 people. We have an estimated, and this was at the time of writing this book, which was, I think, in the 80s or something. There was 45 million laws, state, federal, and local. God, the creator of the universe, gave us only 10 laws with which to live our lives. It would be impossible to obey those 45 million laws. And I was told that it's actually more like 60 plus million laws at this point. And that's kind of just the beginning of where it all went wrong, I think. 65 times more laws. We contend right now with 65 times more laws than our grandfathers did at the turn of the 20th century. The most cruel and unjust of those being the tax laws. That's Mr. Stamper's opinion of that. In this book, he goes through and talks about the fact that federal officials have been given, they give rewards to hundreds of airline ticket clerks for reporting names of individuals who pay for their tickets in cash. That kind of triggers you. So you don't even realize you might be being targeted or labeled by the way that you pay for things. Even when you try to be, have privacy, right now, Miss Teen Crypto did a great job today on her show, talking about the CBDCs and all the risks involved with that. She mentioned the bill that Ted Cruz is trying to put through in Texas. And I believe, I can't remember who all was helping him sign that bill, but the real issue on that is privacy and how the government can then see what every purchase you make is. So says, let's see, 100 of private accountants have become double agents, receiving government kickbacks for betraying their clients. That's something that we learned through the very DAO, that there's a fund at the SEC that if there's any dollar amounts that are, like if they settle a case and it's under 200 million, once the payouts happen to the injured parties, the funds stay in they don't have to go back to the Treasury. They stay in a fund for the SEC that then they can pay whistleblowers to tell on your fellow neighbor. There's some stuff in here about Clinton's stealing land in Utah that has coal, 1.7 million acres of Utah. The part that I really want to talk with Ben about, which he should be here any minute, I swear, is this rule of John Ashcroft. And that gets into the sovereign immunity. So I'll save that for him. As the video said earlier, at the beginning of the show, the 6 corporations that presently control all the forms of media in the U.S. have been diligent accomplices in a massive cover-up of federal crimes and oppression of the people. And it goes into talking about just America needs fewer laws and not more prisons. I didn't know that America has the largest prison population of any country in the world. We have, I mean, that sounds like something a third world country would do is, we think about, the Uyghurs and how China has, how wrong that is, what China is doing and all this. And then come to find out we have more imprisoned of our own citizens than any other country. It's incredible to me. So let's see. The first step to saving our liberty is to realize how much we've already lost. And that's what I really want to talk with Ben about. Here's my buddy, Ben. You look beautiful. No, you're good. You're good. I was just kind of going over some of the things that I've been learning from this book. And I shared kind of our journey of traveling on the road and how much you taught me. And I told them how you have a kind of a different way of learning history, that you would read the letters that people send to each other, not the Google version of history. So I've been reading this book, Fruit from a Poisonous Tree, and in a search for information, and looking at, as our system's breaking down, I know we have to rebuild. And so if we're going to rebuild, I want to do my part. And I know, we have to know our history if we're going to build a future, and what hasn't worked in the past, so we don't repeat that, and then when I come to find out, I was just talking about how we have the largest number of our own citizens in the prison system of any other country. I wanted to talk to you about the whole John Ashcroft, the rule of John Ashcroft, which I think plays into the sovereign immunity. And this was all in the War Powers Act of 1933 and has become like this tool where the government breaks the law, there exists no law. And, I was watching during the midterms, all the representatives get sworn in and all this. And I'm like, where's the Bible? What were they swearing on? And people are like, oh, they're making an oath to the Constitution. And then I'm like, well, wait a minute. I don't see the Constitution in there either. And then come to find out that so then I was watching, a lot of us are following the Brunson Adams case, and it keeps getting not turned down, or it's not being shot down. I think that's a lot of misconception. People are saying, oh, it's being refused, or, it's not being counted. And I'm like, no, it's that they can't legally hear it because of sovereign immunity, because the rule of sovereign immunity is that the state cannot be held accountable in its own courts. So it would have to be heard in another kind of court, maybe a military court. I don't know, some other kind of court. And so when you have this, what we look to as leadership, the whole thing is turned upside down. we're looking to them as leadership, and they're bossing us around instead of serving us. And that's where it's all really broken. And I got really frustrated in reading through this when I started reading about all the testing that's been done on Americans. I think a lot of us know about the Tuskegee airmen and how they withheld treatment for syphilis. I didn't know that there was a balloon full of poison or infected mosquitoes that was sent over the U.S. To see how infection would spread. I didn't know that they aerosolized I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, some kind of infection or disease and blew it off into the coast of California, several other tests. And I just started getting more and more angry. And I know you had told me about Operation Paperclip. And I said, I don't think World War II ever ended. I think they just came here and continued the tests on Americans.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah. So I would like, I'd like the Ben breakdown.
You
on
said
history.
one word that is the absolute key to all of this, which is sovereignty. After the Civil War, the sovereignty was removed from the individual and given to the nation.
Was this the 14th Amendment?
Yes.
Because that is the other huge misconception, is that people think the 14th Amendment freed the slaves, and it actually enslaved all of us.
Yes, it issued civil rights structure.
Yes.
That's where we went from natural common law to what is called statutory law.
Okay.
It's a completely different structure. And
it removed our rights as
no. It removed our it tricked us into in our heads giving us rights that we didn't know we already had.
Submitting to another authority that's less beneficial to us.
Yes. What it did was it took government and it put government between us and God.
Yes.
Which
is the whole calf idol biblical mistake.
The old structure that did that was the church.
Right.
And that's why the Magna Carta was such a big deal, because then it rearranged Lord, Lady, landowner, sovereign, and it's we as humans have God-given rights that cannot be interfered with or removed, or you have them 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Now, the only way that we can lose our rights, and we don't really lose them, is we lend them. is if we agree to lend away our authority. And that's what we do when we vote in a republic. Your vote is you granting your sovereign authority over an agreed upon amount of items to a representative in the republic. And that's why we say that the government only has rights that we grant them.
So we shouldn't vote?
No, we have to.
Okay. We have to vote, but the things that we vote on, we are giving them a job to do with that.
Yes, we are the boss.
Okay.
But what's happened is after the Civil War, see, people get screwed up all the time. The Civil War was not about slavery. It wasn't about freeing the slaves and all that horse shit. Number one, they weren't slaves. They were indentured servants. Because what an indentured servant is it is a legal contract for labor, right? And in the old days, and if you want to hop on YouTube and like listen to some old indentured servant music, it was "I sold my soul to the devil, and I sold my soul to the man." And because what they did was they wrote, which was average, a 7-year labor contract. That's where the term 7-year itch comes from. All right. Now, 7 years of work for 40 acres of land. Nope. That's completely separate.
Okay.
That was the sales pitch to the Southern indentured servants from the North, that if they accepted the Emancipation Proclamation of Abraham Lincoln, that they would get 40 acres and a mule. Well, they didn't get either. All right, so the government screwed them.
You mean they lied to them? Yeah.
Yes, that all happened here in Florida. That's there was an island. It's kind of an island, and that's where the 40 acres and a mule, came from, was here in Florida. But no, they did not actually get 40 acres and a mule, and they wound up getting screwed once again. But now back to sovereignty. Sovereignty is the ownership and recognition of a soul. A souled entity is an entity created by and blessed by God. That's what a souled entity is, a sovereign entity. Now, back in the old days, it was only the church. That's why you had to go to church and give confession to a priest, because you were too dirty. You were too unworthy.
Yes.
You were a serp. All right. And that's basically an indentured servant structure is a serp.
Okay.
Right. And so in the old days, if you wanted to be forgiven, you had to go in, tell a priest, hey, I lusted after my neighbor's wife. All right, we'll do a few Hail Marys and slide us here at the church a few extra bucks on Sunday. You'll be all right. You know, and then it went from the church to the lords and ladies and queens and
because then the sheriff would go around. You were telling me this. This is bringing back some of our educating Lisa memories. Because then they would hold court, and they would travel around and hold court, judging people, and the sheriff would take the money. Is that right?
When you say like take the money, are you actually
Like
talking
fining
like
them or
bond?
taxing them?
Well, it's
Maybe I'm conflating two different stories. I probably shouldn't have interrupted.
oh, that's all right. Well, it actually depends on if because all right, let me answer the original.
Yeah, let's stay on the sovereignty thing.
thought
I
here.
thought that was part of the story, that it went, because I remembered that one. It was like the church, and then the church started like manipulating the courts or the kings, and then that one king stood up to him, and that's where the Magna Carta came from, I thought.
Yeah, the church created the kings.
Okay.
All right. What happened? What happened was the church. That was a partnership of the church and landlords, or really they were warlords, but they called them landlords. It was usually the most aggressive local military or militia around, and the church would partner with them and said, look, we will forgive your sins. We will give you sovereignty through the church over the land. You just have to make sure to help us put our churches in the right place, and make sure that you pay your tithes to the church, and all will be well. Well, that's how church created government.
Okay.
And from then on out, the only thing that was sovereign was the church and kings and queens. And the kings and queens would issue titles of sovereignty to lords and ladies and a great example would be Elton John.
I was
Like,
going to say, is that why it's a big deal to be knighted or made sir, whatever?
yes,
Okay.
because then you, you own your soul.
You were given your freedom
Yes,
by the
yes,
church.
right. Well,
Mm.
in America, that's what the original pilgrims, because you have to understand the original pilgrims, these were not your normal ordinary religious folk. All right, these were the Protestants. These were the holy rollers, serious, we love God more than
Right.
anything in the world, people. Let's just say, I was raised in a Pentecostal church. The Protestants made Pentecostals look like we were devil worshippers. I
Yeah.
mean, these
Okay.
are hardcore Protestant,
Wow.
and
That makes so much sense. Yeah.
so and these were not weak people. These are people who demanded and said, "Oh no, I own my own soul. I don't go through a church." Well, the church didn't like that. They're like,
Hmm.
"Oh no." That's why the whole like King James version
Right.
of the Bible came out, because they were like, "Ah,
Yeah.
that's not our religion." And so King James was like, "Well, I'll put out my own Bible." They're like, "Well, that's fine, mother plucker. We'll go over
They're
here."
like, we can talk to God directly. And they're like, oh, blasphemy. Yeah.
Exactly. That
Devil worshiping. Yes. Hmm.
Yep. And a lot
Hmm.
of the women of the church were actually hung as witches.
Yeah.
See that we can squirrel off into some
Yeah.
1800s like Wicca and
Oh
stuff
my
like that.
gosh.
No, that's
Yeah,
another.
because if you're actually connecting with God, the universe, whatever, I mean, using the words, when you get into legalism, when you
Yes,
make it the law and Jesus came to free us from the law, then that is how that's the of the world part that then they
see,
can harm people because they're in their rules.
Jesus was the original anti-government guy.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
mean, and I mean, if you want to resist government, look to Jesus, because he gave zero shit. I mean, literally, he was
Right.
like, "I'll flip your tables." They're like,
Hmm.
"We'll hang you on a cross." He goes, "I don't care.
Hmm.
I don't care. Bring it." You know,
Yeah.
and that's what people. That's why sovereignty, the Civil War.
Yeah, where did it go wrong? Because if the Protestants were here and that was the movement, and then something happened at the Civil War that we thought it was going,
Reconstruction.
the Reconstruction.
See, people think that the Civil War reconstruction was like rebuilding the cities and all. No, no, no.
It's like the Patriot Act. The word actually means the opposite.
Yes,
Pink
yes.
mirror thing.
The Civil War took us from one legal structure to another legal structure, right? That's what created the United States of America, right?
Corporation.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It created the idea of a corporation. Prior to that, there was no corporation. It was trusts, right? And that's why the progressive, Abraham Lincoln was a progressive. Abraham Lincoln was not a good president.
Wow.
He didn't free anybody. Now he like JFK, he wasn't evil, and that's why they got rid of him.
Mm-hmm.
He had an idea of saving the Union, right? He wanted to, that's all he cared about, save the Union. Well, what he wasn't okay with was creating a nation. He didn't want a nation because a nation is a legal term that would create a global identity of the United States. Prior to that, New York would deal with France, and New Jersey could work out a deal with France. And but what a nation is a nation, because every time I explain a new term, I have to explain what's behind it. All right.
Yeah.
A nation is a globalist word. All right. That's why they call it United Nations.
Okay.
Because a nation is it really means an enclosed area of land that is governed by a corporation.
Okay.
That's basically what it means. Now, you read the legal definition, there's a bunch of legal terms. It's like that damn long.
Okay.
And they really confuse you with the legal definition because they don't want you to understand that as soon as you create a nation, that takes away the idea of sovereignty of the people inside the nation.
Because the nation is making the decisions for the people. The people are, the votes don't count anymore.
No.
No? Okay.
No. A nation basically turns a landmass into a ship.
Okay.
Legally. All right. Under the maritime law structure. All right. There's a global law. The old global law would be the maritime law was the old global law.
Mm-hmm.
So think of the maritime law as the few hundred and last few hundred and thousand years globalist.
Okay.
That's think of the maritime law as the old equivalent of Agenda 21,
Okay.
right? That's when all of the global corporations are, no, the old global trusts and the old global, uh, the East Indian Trade Company was part of the old maritime law governing structure, right? So after the Civil War, that made us a nation. That means that everyone inside the nation was now a piece of cargo on a ship
Okay.
legally. That's why they changed it from a woman went into labor. That was the pre-Civil War, and now she gives birth
Mm-hmm.
like a ship, right? And that's why we are now civilians, right?
Because we're under civil
Yes,
law
yes,
and we
we
have civil rights.
right. And civil rights are the rights that a captain on a ship has, is civil rights. So that's why a captain can marry a couple out on sea, and it's recognized here in America,
Okay.
right? This gets really deep into
Very
the weeds,
interesting. Yeah.
right? So now, after the Civil War, we went, basically, the federal government filed bankruptcy for everybody. That's what the Emancipation Proclamation was. And it's basically what somebody hand me my pudding Joe Biden is trying to do right now with the college loans.
The student debt. Mm-hmm.
Right. An executive emergency order of debt relief. That's what the Emancipation Proclamation was. It was an executive order wiping away the debts of the Southern slaves. But the deal was, if you accepted the Emancipation Proclamation, then you had to come up and join and fight against the South. Well, see, one of the most unrealized truths that America has, and misunderstood. A lot of black people weren't stupid. A lot of black people were educated. A lot of black people could read. All right. There's this big lie that all of the indentured slaves and all the slaves, well, they just dumb Southern folk, and they just, oh, the master used to whip us. No, that happens so rarely, because And this is going to sound crude, but it's true. If you're going to go out, think about this. If you're going to, let's say, Lisa, you hire a gardener
Mm-hmm.
and you got aggravated at that gardener. Would you go out there and beat the hell out of the gardener? Now, mind you, the gardener can't leave. He's got to finish the job. Are 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 you going to hurt the gardener?
No.
No.
Especially if you think about that if you're dependent on the gardener's skill and labor to feed your
To get
family
the job done.
and get the job done. Yeah.
I
It's like if your mower, if your
bingo.
mower, or your tractor, because if they thought of them as a tool or
Yeah.
I
Yep.
mean, I
Yep.
don't know if you think of it that way.
It's the equivalent of a farmer
And
going
if
out
they thought of them as their property, why would you
and
damage your own property?
right. Why would a farmer go out and shoot his tractor in the engine?
Yeah.
Or why would he go out there and whip his slave
So they say that it was to
all alive?
intimidate the other slaves to get them to comply.
All right. One of my best friends of all time,
Mm-hmm.
Hoddles, right?
Yeah.
His family lived in Missouri since the early 1800s. They had slaves or indentured servants, right, on their land. They were all close friends.
Mm-hmm.
They literally built houses for.
My dad. Yeah. I mean, I'm not disputing that there were a lot of people that had slaves and that your story is, or not your story, but what you're telling me is most likely accurate. I'm just saying that what we're told
Yeah,
is
it's
the
a
other
big
way.
lie. It's
Yeah.
a big lie because
Yeah. No, my dad would tell me there was a couple. I don't know if they were slaves. He always said like they worked for him, but he would use like a derogatory term because he was 90 when he passed last year, and he
plus,
said there was a family that lived, behind their house, and they worked at the dog food factory that they owned. And when they had a little baby, he couldn't wait to show everybody that they had their own pickaninny. And that was just the term that they used back then. Like it was a whole nother. So I'm sure there's so much history that we have not been told accurately. The words have changed. The stories have been, we've been lied to and
the
misconstrued.
N word was the preferred term that they wanted to be called in the old days.
Interesting.
This is what people, it blows my mind because people are made to feel bad for things that happened 100, 150, 200 years ago.
Mhm.
And they're told a story, which is a lie.
And all of it is really just to divide us, distract us. It's
Yes.
really not even
Separate.
about that issue. It's just meanwhile, they're stealing our energy from all of us through this corrupt financial system right now, which is
Yeah.
where I want to have these kind of conversations so that we can say like, okay, let's stop looking over there and let's focus on building a future where we all have freedom and sovereignty, and can have fair communities together, and engage whatever, transact equally in a fair society, in an equal society. Not equal. I don't. Equal is not the right word. But in an honest, truthful society.
No, it's
Transparent, I guess.
equal is an okay word as long as it's equal treatment, not equal outcome.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
what people really need to realize is that the government, the federal government, any government outside of your county is bad. Right? Once you get outside of about 15,000 people, it goes squirrely. It always does.
Is that because of the accountability? It's really not possible to know it's like the 6 degrees of separation, Kevin Bacon kind of thing. Like if it's more than that, then, like if you can't tell somebody's mama what they did, or you know what I mean?
Yes,
then a society kind of falls apart. If you look at the smaller societies, like I always go back to Finland. My brother-in-law was from Finland, and my sister would go over there and she would talk about just how different it was and how like certain things were just unthinkable there. Littering. And he was like, you would never, no one would litter because it's your country and somebody's going to tell your mother, I mean, there was the accountability. And because of that, they have a strong society. They don't allow carpet inside their homes because they're all going to pay for, they have, what is it called? Healthcare, where the government, they all pay for their own healthcare. They all have these community services. So the food is better. They don't have the crappy food that we have because they all have, when you're looking out for your brother, everything's better. The world's better for everyone when you realize everyone's life being better makes your life better. Not this, just get mine, look out for me only, kind of mindset.
Let me give you an update of where we're at.
Yeah.
We are now into the transition. If you've ever read the Communist Manifesto.
Okay.
Right. The
next book.
You should have read that a long time ago, man.
I should have. I've heard you talk about it. Just doesn't sound like, my favorite, most inspiring reading. But you need to know, the other side of things, right?
Once you read it, you'll get it. They lay out what they're going to do. We
Good to
are
know
living
the enemy's
through,
decision.
Right? We are living through the last chapter of the Communist Manifesto. It is basically explaining where the government is absorbed into the corporation structure. And the corporation and the corporations replace government. And that's what we're seeing right now.
That's where like the CIA is the weaponization of the government with all these companies, social media, all of this.
The government is like telling social media what to do. Mm-hmm. All of the regulations and all that. He goes,
they're not even trying to hide it anymore.
Nope. The Great Reset is when they sunset the government, and through the ability to punish with electrification of everything allows them to be able to punish on an individual basis where the ESG and your social score will be enforceable through corporations and no longer through government. So they won't put you in jail. They'll just lock you in your house.
So they are so mad at us. We refused the
Smart
meter.
meter. Yep.
And so we get charged an extra $15. And because we refused it, this guy kept coming to the house and I won't open the door and whatever. And finally, my husband went out and talked to him. And so they said, well, you guys keep refusing it, so we need you to sign this thing. And he goes, well, we sent the email and we'll pay the $15, but I'm not signing that. And he said, well, we have to change out your meter. We're putting these electric meters on now. And he said, no, we told you we're not doing this isn't the digital one. This isn't the smart meter. This is just, we're doing away with these. And so they put not a smart meter, but I felt so violated. I was so angry. Like, I can't even tell you.
What
But that's more proof. This is not my home. It doesn't matter if I pay it off. It's still not my home. You can't. I want to move so bad. I feel like I got like raped in my home.
What they are doing is, see, if you have a smart meter, they'll lower your
They did it to the people in Denver.
Yeah, and they can check what's in your refrigerator. They can watch you through your TV. They can go through your Alexa. Well, you won't let them put a smart meter on your house. So they're going to put the meter to your house up off your property, and they won't be able to control your house. They'll just shut your power off.
And now I'm on a list, I'm sure, for being that one girl that won't let you. Yeah.
Honey,
it's like you either comply or you're on the list. Yeah.
Honey, we have been on a list for years.
Well, I remember coming when I was at your house and you showed me the line that they did across the street. Yeah. They put in a line just to your house.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I don't know. The whole street had power except my house. And they're like, yeah, we got to run a separate line. And
just to your house. Yeah.
Because we wouldn't let them put a smart meter in.
And then the fire. Yeah. Just enrages me.
Then the house fire, and they get swatted. FBI visits. Oh, the good old days. See, my friends, those like Lisa, those like me, those like Cliff High, the freedom, the digital warriors, shall we call us. We're not going to give up. We're not scared. You've got to fight back. And there's no other choice.
And you fight back with knowledge.
Yes.
And with sharing knowledge. Yep. Yeah.
And the reason my show is so popular and Lisa's kicking ass and taking names is that we enjoy. That's why we're here. God brought us all together now because.
Well, Ben, you helped quite a bit. Ben does a lot to bring community together.
But it's through prayer that it all happens. You know, it's ask for the guidance and he will lead you. And all you have to do is say yes. Yes. Okay. Yep. Whenever, no matter where I'm at, if I get a certain feeling, which I know is God, let me know I need to do something. I don't even ask anymore. I just go, okay, there we go. Whatever it was.
I've been with you when that's happened, whether it's been, several times. I mean, I know you don't like people stealing your blessings, because God will reward you in heaven for a lot of the things that you've done to help people. But it's really cool to to be there when you hear those voices, when you hear his voice and when you act on it. And it's cool to be a part of this community and to help people. And I'm excited to do more in the future. I think that we're right there at the part where we are rebuilding. We're seeing, the breakdown of Rome. It's falling apart. It's burning. I think the light of Rome burning is so bright. People are like, oh, all this horrible stuff. And I'm like, no. It's always been there. It's just that it's coming out and you can see it because of the destruction of it right now. That don't be afraid of seeing the destruction of evil. It's going away, And so now we get to rebuild. So now choose the truth, choose transparency, choose the good things, choose community, choose transacting in truth. And those are the things that we want to look to. So I'm grateful to you and all that you've taught me. And I knew I could turn to you. And I was like, okay, help me figure this out. I know this is some of our Educating Lisa conversations. I'm really missing those. And so I appreciate you making some time for me today.
If you want to, let's do it again whenever you have.
I would love that.
How about we do it again next Wednesday?
Okay, that'd be great. I love it.
This time, let me put a reminder on my
I'll
calendar.
send you a calendar invite. Would that help? I'll send you a calendar invite and like a Google invite.
No,
and that way you just hit accept.
I'm going to put
You're doing it right now. So
Yep.
Everyone do that right now on your calendar.
Yep.
We'll do it at
Litecoin Lisa show.
At 3 p.m. Eastern. We'll do an early one again.
Yep.
On Wednesday, and that would be March.
At 3 p.m. until
8th?
4. And I'm going to set it for every Wednesday.
Okay, that'll be awesome. I appreciate it. And we'll do some history and sovereignty, American history kind of chats. That'll be good stuff. Thanks, Ben.
No problem, hon. Let me just make sure I have this all. Yep.
All right. Well, you guys, one way that you can work towards your freedom is by getting your Calyx laptop. There's a link in the description to do that. So make sure you do that before you check out, and give us a like, share the video, and go check out Ben's channel on YouTube as well. So thanks, guys. Take care.
Are you buying and selling cryptos on the same laptop that you're using to browse the internet, read your email, and visit social media sites? If so, you're exposing your cryptos to theft. Whenever you're online, you're at risk of getting hacked and having your identity stolen. How would you feel if someone stole all of your cryptos? What would that do to your finances? Guard your cryptos with a safe and secure laptop from Calyx Solutions. Each laptop is set up just for you and your cryptos, and then we walk you through exactly how it works. Don't risk the security of your cryptos. Order a crypto laptop from Calyx Solutions now to secure your crypto future. Learn more at calyxsolutions.io.